Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and countrymen. Welcome to the Author's Alley. I am your host, Mr. Frederick Beatty, and the beautiful young lady that's to my right or to your left, which however you're viewing her, her name is Quint Jones, and we are here tonight. Well, first and foremost, let's do this first. Let's get some things out of the way first. So first and foremost, thank you guys for tuning in to us and being here with us tonight. You could have been anywhere else, but you guys are right here with us, and we most definitely appreciate that. So thank you so very much for that to our viewing audience and to our listening audience. Thank you so very much for your support. It means a great deal to us, and we're gonna continue. We're gonna repay. We're gonna make sure that we continue to put great content out there for you guys. So thank you so very much for that, and make sure and please continue to follow us, like and follow us on Facebook at Trailblazer Radio, on Instagram at Trailblazers Radio, and also on LinkedIn at Trailblazers Radio. And very soon, very soon, very soon, we're going to have a Patreon page. Details of that to follow. But and hold on a second because my camera decided it went haywire again. So I apologize for that. I apologize for my
Okay,
camera
so
going
sweet.
haywire. All right, so I guess I'm gonna have to reset my browser. So I apologize for that, guys. Quint, if you could take over for me real quick, I'll be right back.
Well, he was just giving some announcements, but tonight we're going to talk about his new book, which is called Tapestry. It's a book of poems. We are so excited that he's having his book launch on today. So, those of you that are with us, please stay with us. Hey, Simone, I listen, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome on tonight. When we can support each other, I think that is so important. You can find his book on Amazon. Uh, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be on some other sites. Or you guys, if you want an autographed copy, you can cash app him to get an autographed copy. Fred got some awesome books out there. He got about 6 books. I'm gonna let him give y'all the names of the books. But listen, we are our brother's keepers. So it's so important for us to support each other. And I pray that on today, God is prospering you and he's keeping you healthy and whole. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Fred.
Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate that. Thank you, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties, guys. I actually had to switch back to my laptop camera because my actual webcam was acting a little funny, so I apologize for that. But before we get started here, I want a couple things. I just want to just make sure. I want to just have everybody do if they're able to. Please keep um our brother Terrence Jackson in your prayers. He's been having some health issues, and we want to make sure that we keep him covered in prayer. Also, um, continue to keep. I want you guys to keep my family, the Sappho family, in prayers as we lost a patriarch, a very, very, very impactful patriarch in our family. The Reverend Forrest Sappho. Um, he transitioned. He transitioned on earlier this week. So I want you to make sure that you keep our family in prayers, especially his immediate children in prayers. Stephanie, Jim, Carnell, George. Make sure you keep those guys in your prayer and in your thoughts and your prayers as you go to bed tonight and you say your prayers. With that being said, there's going to be no further delay with that. Gonna be no further delays with that. Hi, hey Simone. Hello, Miss Coleman. How you guys doing? Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in and hanging out with me tonight. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this. So the reason that we are here tonight is to celebrate the release of my sixth book, the third book that I've actually written, but the sixth book that I've actually had a had a hand in or participated in. This book is a very personal and very deep dive into my own life, and how I looked at things, how I looked at certain things in my life from my birth to where I am currently. And the name of this current book is called Tapestry, The Interwoven Soul. As Quint so eloquently said, this book is currently available on Amazon as an ebook and also as a paperback book. So you guys can either get either version. If you have Kindle, if you have Kindle on your phone or on your smartphone or your tablet, it actually will be free to you if you have Kindle. But if you don't have Kindle, that's no problem. It is available for purchase on Amazon and on Amazon as again as a paperback and a hard copy. This is the book here. No, you guys can't see it because it's kind of shiny. However, I do want to give a big shout out to someone who to the person who created this cover. Um, the gentleman is it goes by the name of Dark Scopes, and he's on. I found him on Instagram, and this cover is amazing. So if you guys are looking for somebody to do some things like that, hit this guy up on Instagram. He does amazing work. Um, normally when he does work is usually work with women or guys without clothes. But if you ask him to do something more specific, he will do it for you. I have to really give a shout out to my cousin Tina for first of all, giving me referring that gentleman to me. He is an amazing artist and most definitely will continue to you try to utilize him in any way that I can. But I know you guys didn't come around to hear any of that. I know you guys wanted to kind of hear what this particular book is about. So let's talk about that. So this particular book is about it's pretty much how I viewed my life a child from an adolescence from a child to adolescence to a young adult and then a full then an actual well I won't say an actual adult because when you're a young adult you're still an adult but in my later adult years and to where I am now. This particular book is I wanted to write I wanted to write this in like I wanted to convey a story that was transparent and was able to convey the things the thoughts that I had um thinking back to my childhood and my young adulthood and everything of that. Hey Shayna, how are you?
Nah.
So I wanted to do that. So I had to think of a way to write this. So I thought about should I write this as a series of short stories or should I write this in, like modern poetry? So I kind of how that came about is I literally flipped the coin. I literally flipped the coin and said heads was poetry, tails was short stories. So when I flipped the coin, boom, it landed on heads. So that's the genre. That's what I decided to write it in. Um, this is not my first dive into poetry. I've written poetry before as a kid, as a teenager, and also as a younger adult. Just never really took it into any type of consideration or really just wanted to publish it or anything like that. But as I was writing these poems, a lot of things came to my mind. Um, a lot of things came to my mind. A lot of things came to the forefront of my mind. Um, so I was thinking about my burn, my matriculation from a child to an adult, and the experiences that I had from that point to where I am now. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And a lot of the things that I thought about were there were good memories, there were so memories, and then there were some bad memories as well. So I want to put this out and be as transparent as I possibly could with my own life, so that maybe someone could pick up this book and they can look at their own life and see and maybe relate to one of the poems that I've written in the book. Um, the writing process for this was quite stressful. I'll say that. I'll say that because they brought up a lot of strong emotions. Um, emotions of as a child as an adolescent or as a teenager, trying to fit in but not necessarily fitting in. Um, even stronger emotions of dealing with the loss of a child, and still trying to navigate that road. Um, talk briefly about um, my experience in the military. Um, talk about a little bit about some things that are some issues that I had with my parent, with not necessarily with my parents. Well, an issue that I had with my father that had persisted for a while until I wrote the poem to kind of purge all that. And also I talked about my experience with marriage, um, my experience with dealing with um, transitioning from one state of being to another. Um, briefly, I talked about the fact that I hurt someone and then actually allow myself to be hurt by someone, um, emotionally and mentally and at times physically. So I talked about a lot. I wrote about all those things, and it was very hard for me to write about that because there were some subjects that were so emotionally jarring. I had to put down the room, had to pull away from a laptop and just kind of gather myself for a moment, because some of those memories that come up are painful ones, and
Hi, Ashley.
they're they're there's some. Hey Ashley, how are you? There's sometimes they're so difficult to digest, and as a person, as a human being, and more specifically as a male, and even more specifically than that, as a black male, it's a lot of those things are compartmentalized, and we don't necessarily talk about that. And I wanted this to be my avenue to release a lot of things that I was feeling from, again, from birth to now. Um, so basically, this is kind of a poem of this book of poetry is kind of speaks on my growth process from when I was a kid up to now. And the way that I spoke about that is through, as you notice, the title is interwoven. So I speak on that as if it's like the beginning, the making of a garment. When the fir- when someone, when like a garment maker or a seamstress ends to make a garment, they work off a pattern, and then those little stitches and knits and those things begin to form that pattern. And as they're going through with it, they go through the finished product, and they go through the final quality inspection stages to make sure that there's no imperfections, or there's nothing wrong with it. But with any garment that you find, there's going to be an imperfection, whether it's noticeable or not. So I speak on it from that perspective, starting from the beginning stages of when someone begins to weave a garment, from the end stages to when that finished product is available for someone to touch, feel, or even put on. So it was an interesting way for me to look at that, and I wanted to put it in that way. Hi Cheryl, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. So I wanted to put it in that way because I wanted people to understand, number one, where I was coming from, where I was coming from, where I was at the time, and also where I've been, and also to where I am and where I'm going. So I wanted people to understand that. And when people read this, they they're they can read something out of it and not just look at it as, well, this guy just had a bad experience or something like that, or, well, maybe he's just venting because he's angry or something like that. I want people to really just read this, and any part of what I've written, of any piece that I've written in this book, if anyone can relate to it, then they can see themselves in that particular piece, and they can see themselves changing or working towards changing. Then my job is complete. we as human beings, we are always trying to be better, trying to our process of being a better person is a never ending process, and it's continual. So I want when people finish reading this book, I want them to be empowered, but I also want them to try to walk the path of a better person. And that's the mission. That's really the mission behind this particular poetry book. Is for I know for some people it doesn't look like it's really really big or really long. It's it's short. It's short for a reason, because our life experiences most of our life experiences can be put in the book, and most times those books are either going to be short or they're going to be long. Not to say that my life experience that I didn't have many life experiences. However, I wanted to touch on the more important ones, the more important and more impactful ones in my life, um, such as from you know the bonds that I share with my brothers, all of my brothers, the my memories of being at my grandmother's house, um, raking leaves on a Saturday morning, or hanging out at my maternal grandmother's house and during the summer nights, and then also my experiences as a child, being able to go hang out and play little league baseball and hang out with and have those intimate and bonding moments with my father. Those were I speak about those. I don't speak about them in great detail, but I do touch on those because those are the most for me. Those are the most important moments in my life because those are the moments that help shape me and help grow me, as well as the other experiences that I've had, being enlisted in the military, um, learning to be a better learn to be a better be learn to be a better learn to be a better sailor as I was in the Navy, learning to try to and also my travel down fatherhood. It hasn't been the greatest travel because of my experiences with that, but I put all that out there because I want people to just if you I want people to look at that and just look at their own lives and say, hey, maybe I can relate to that. Maybe that's something that I can look at in my own life, and maybe I can change that in some way, shape, or form. The purpose of me writing this book, as well as any other book, any other of my other five books that I've written or I've contributed to, is to touch a life one word at a time. If I can touch someone's life with one word or maybe one sentence or maybe one bit of a phrase, then I'll say that my mission is complete. So that's the purpose for me writing it. This is my premise for it. It's been out since January, but I was thinking about how to best release this. So tonight is that night. So I want everybody to celebrate and rejoice, because this ain't a sad occasion, y'all. Even though some of the subjects in this book of poetry are a little sad, but they're not. They're for me it is a release of a lot of emotions and a lot of things that I felt for a long, long time. And for me, at the end, when I got to the end of this book, it felt really, really good to let all that go, because it felt like there was a great weight that was lifted off of my chest, and for me, that is the best feeling ever. So with that being said, I'm gonna, if you guys have some questions for me, by all means, fire away.
Well, let me say this. You said a lot, and I'm very, very proud of you for putting your feelings on paper, especially in the form of poetry. There's when we met, there was a lot of things that you was dealing with, and you was like in a whole nother headspace. So to watch you progress through the time through this year, it's been awesome. It's been an awesome journey. But
Oh, don't 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 make me cry up here, child. Don't make me do that.
here we
Don't
go.
make me cry up here.
But
Don't do that.
okay, I'll be good. But you spoke on you said one of the poems deals with father issues. And I know for a long time I had daddy issues, and that was because my father was not in the picture. Um, it was a lot that was going on. My father was an addict, but I didn't find that out until later that he could not be there for me. But
Mm,
regardless of the fact, even through all the words of negativity that I said to him, I still loved him. So, dealing with the poems on fatherhood, what was your mindset concerning it?
hmm. Well, first and foremost, I want to be as transparent as I could with it because, and I'm just gonna be very honest. People can say what they want at this particular point, but it doesn't matter to me because because it's my truth. I wasn't the best father to any of my kids, so I can readily admit that, and it put a lot of things in perspective for me because writing about it, walking back to that past and those moments put a lot of things in perspective for me. The simple fact of me not being around for my oldest son when he needed me the most, when he was going through a lot of things, you know, his my daughter's mom, you know, kind of moving away from where we were living at to go someplace else, just because of me. But at the end of the day, I understood what it was. Um, and then really honestly not knowing where my middle son is. I mean, I have an idea where he's at, but I can't confirm that. I can't confirm or deny that. And then, issues with my youngest son really just not being there for him, period. And when I walked back and I looked at all those things, it put a whole bunch of things in perspective because for me, because for a lot of us as parents, especially when there's a parent in absentia, the blame is always placed on the parent in absentia because that parent could have been around to do what they had to do to help raise a child. But for me, that took on a whole different meaning because there was always that question, that maybe if or what if. So me writing that poem came from the thought of what if. And then there were three other poems that I wrote that were dedicated to each one of my kids. So, this is based on my personal experiences with each one of them, from not from their mom, but from them.
Mhm. Now, let me ask this. Through the process of you writing the poems and the what ifs, I know a lot of the time that you were away, you were in the military. Did you forgive yourself concerning it? Because we, as parents, have to make a living for our children.
Hmm.
And if you were in the military, I mean, you were making a living for your children. However, once again, did you forgive yourself concerning the what ifs? And what are some of the what ifs?
Well, to walk back on the first part of your question. Now, I had my oldest son when I was in the military, so I wasn't. So at that point, I didn't have any other kids at prior to that. So, and then to answer the other part of the question, what were the what ifs? One of those what ifs is what if I the one what if that was the biggest question in my mind, and this is regarding my oldest child, was what if I what if I stayed in Virginia? What if I would have stayed in Newport News? Or actually I was in Little Creek at the time, so that's a little bit away from Norfolk. But what if I would have stayed in Virginia? What you know, what if I would have stayed in Virginia? What would have happened and what would have been that result? The other thing was, what if I would have been a better, what if I'd have done everything that I could to improve myself with my daughter's mom? Would she have moved away? You know, um, what could I have done to improve my stature with my youngest child, with my youngest son? And what could I have done to prevent my middle son's mother from, filling his head with so much ridiculousness and lies and things that weren't necessary, that weren't true about me. Those are my what ifs. You know, Even as you ask those what ifs, those answers are not always readily available, and they sometimes they won't even manifest themselves until later on in life. But the one thing that kind of remained as the constant for me was not the what ifs, but the opportunity to try the opportunity to try to change it, to try to change the situation. If I had an opportunity to try to change the situation, I tried to take it. Sometimes there were small times, there were small bits of success, but there were a lot of failures. And those failures were kind of like the driving force of me doubting myself as a father.
So did you forgive yourself?
I had no choice. I had no choice, because at that point, if I didn't, I was gonna go out. First of all, if I didn't, I was gonna go crazy. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I wouldn't have been able, I wouldn't have been afforded the opportunities that I've had. You know, in 2019, I got to see my youngest son and my daughter. I actually witnessed my daughter get married, and that was a beautiful thing to sit there to watch that, and to see how happy she was, and to have that conversation with her, and to have that conversation with her mom. Those things meant a lot, and just for me and and her mom to have that conversation and talk about what happened. And she apologized to me, and I was like, well, what are you apologizing for? And she told me why she apologized. And at that point, I understood the reason why she moved away, because I wasn't stable. I wasn't really stable. And that's what she wanted for her daughter. That's what she wanted for her daughter, or her a father that's stable, someone that's going to be able to show her, show her what it means to be, show her, protect her, um, and protect her and love her and care about her. I wasn't at that point in my life at that time. I was still running around trying to do what I wanted to do, and eschewing all one running around doing what I wanted to do, while neglecting all the responsibilities that I had at the time. So yeah, I had no choice but to forgive myself, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been afforded those opportunities. I wouldn't have been afforded those two opportunities that I've had, and I wouldn't have been able to forge a bond with my oldest son. Even though it was a strained bond, it was a bond still, and regardless of the fact, regardless of the fact, you know, I knew that he loved me, and I knew that I know that I love him, and we tried to say it to each other as often as we could. Sometimes we didn't say it, and sometimes we couldn't say it because we were mad at each other. But me being a bigger person, I always want to try to approach him and talk to him about it. Hey, look, let's talk about it. What can we do to be better? What can we do to improve? And for for things that happened the way they were before all those things were realized, that was a hurtful thing. But I had to forgive myself for that, because for a long time, especially with my oldest son, I felt that it was my fault that he was taken away from us, taken off this earth. And I had to realize that it wasn't my fault. You know, whatever action he chose to, whatever choice he chose to make, whatever choice he made, and whatever action he took was the reason for him not being here. But at the same time, everybody has a choice. My son had a choice. The officer that decided to shoot him had a choice. Everybody that was present at that time had a choice. Some people made good choices. Some people made good choices. Some people made bad choices. The end result is, to me, the end result is what it is. So even though I might be mad at the result, I'm no longer angry at God for it, because again, choices and consequences. You reap you either reap the rewards or the consequences of the choices that we make. And that's what I had to understand.
So you talked about being angry with God. How long was you angry with God, and why did you put it on God?
Interesting question you asked there, but there's an answer to that though. I was angry for quite some time. And when I say quite some time, I mean quite some time. Like years. And from the I won't put an approximate time on it because for me to do that would probably be I'd probably be wrong. So for I'll say for a period of a few years, maybe I'll say maybe 3 to 4 years since he passed, I was angry, very angry, and I think, and I think, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. If if you lose someone, it's a very it's a very hurting feeling, and after you cry and you after you have your cry and you hug people and you talk to people and then you're all of a sudden left by yourself and you have these all these questions. Why did this happen? What could I've done to done what could I have done to improve a situation, or what could I've done to improve his quality of life? You have all these questions and then with no answers. And the reason I was angry because I kept asking these questions and then not necessarily getting an answer, or just not getting an answer, period. So that's why I was so angry, because I kept asking God, why did you do this? Why did you take him away from me? Why did you do this? And for a while I was for a while I was trying to bargain with God. Hey, look, I'm I'm already like halfway to the half century mark. Why didn't you take me, and why didn't you take me and not take him? You know, he had his whole life ahead of him. I've lived almost half of mine. So to ask questions and not get answers was one thing that was upset me, that made me upset and angry with God. The other part of that is, and it's actually it's actually a piece that I wrote too. The other part of it was being around um certain people. Oh baby, you just need to pray your way through that, and you want me to pray my way through this, and I'm in deep depression, and you want me to pray through this, right? I can't do that. You're asking me to do something that I don't I that's really that was at the time impossible. And then there are other people that try to just you know I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say any names or anything like that because I want to protect the integrity of those people. And I didn't mention any names in my poem except my sons and my sons and my daughter. So I'm not gonna mention any names because I want to protect the integrity of those people. But in certain circles, in certain religious circles, you know, people will always tell me that you shouldn't be mad at God for what happened, and who are you to tell me who I can't be upset with? Or you know, always put their hand on your shoulders, baby. Just pray about it. I don't think you understand what I'm going through right now. I'm I just lost a child, a my oldest child, who now has a who now has a 6 year who now has a 6 year old who now has a 6 year old daughter, my granddaughter. But you asking me to pray about it. You asking me to talk to God about it. I ain't trying to hear that. Not right now. I ain't trying to hear that because and I would explain it the many times I've asked God all these questions and not getting any answers from it. Come on. I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I can't, because I'm not gonna go through the process of asking questions and not getting answers. Because as many questions as I ask, I'm not getting the answers back that'll reduce the number of questions that I'm asking. So that's the main reason why I was angry. It was it was quote unquote spiritual and religious folks that exacerbated it. Not and that's not to say that, and I'm not saying that bad of any religious or spiritual person because I can't, because I won't, I can't, because y'all two are aligned with me, and I have, and that's, and for me to say something negative like that would be really, really bad. So I won't say anything negative. But there were people in certain circles in my life that were religious and spiritual, and they exacerbated it and made me feel like I wasn't supposed to be mad, or I wasn't supposed to be angry, or I wasn't supposed to feel what I was feeling. And then to, you know, be around you, not family, because the people, the support system I had was amazing, and I can't speak highly enough of them. So I give kudos to those people. But internally, which is when I mean internally, I mean inside my own family dynamic that I had at the time. It's I'm trying to put all this in pieces that I can understand, in ways that I can comprehend, and I'm literally going through it. Like, when I say going through it, I mean like literally just going through it. I mean, um, I'd actually, this is to be very transparent with y'all. I mean, and everybody that's listening and watching. I actually lost a couple of jobs. I actually lost a couple of jobs behind this, because my depression was so deep. I was so inundated in being angry with God, and I was so wrapped up in trying to, you know, determine what's going on and try to actually get all these questions answered. Certain certain aspects of my life suffered for it. My I lost a couple of good paying jobs behind that. Um, I lost friends behind that. Um, it was it was one of the reasons why my marriage went the way it went, and why I actually stepped outside of it. So I mean, I lost a lot of things because I lost a lot of things because of that. So I mean, but am I angry now? Because now I understand there were choices that were made. And I also understand, you know, time and place. God's timing isn't God's where God places us isn't where man places you. Where God's timing isn't our timing. So I understand time and place. There are reasons why this happened. Whatever those reasons are, I may not ever know. But I have to be content in the fact that where he is somewhere better than where we are.
Okay. So I knew she was coming in.
Huh?
I knew
I'm
she
ready
was
for it.
coming.
I'm ready
It
for it.
was
Come on.
written on her face.
Look on her face at everything.
Everything.
First and foremost, let me just say I am superbly proud. Um,
Y'all finna get waterworks starting right now. Stop
let
it.
me let me say that because I have not known you as long as Quint has. But in the time that I have known you, you have progressed in a good way,
Yes.
not a bad way. And I hope that you are proud of your own progression as far as where you are in yourself now, right?
I am.
Um, I hope that you continue to progress in the way that you're going. Continue to heed to his instruction.
Hmm.
Don't veer left, don't veer right. Continue to look straight forward. Don't lose your focus on what you're focusing on, but keep your focus on what he tells you is yours in this season, right? So um, there's a lot of doors and atmospheres that's about to open up for you. A lot of stuff
Oh,
you've been trying to stick your hands in. Some things are not meant for you, but the ones that are, he's going to open up the doors for you And there are some doors that are going to close. And when they close, do not try to reopen them. Okay? Because that's not your portion in this season. He's
Mm,
trying to take you to higher height. And there are some doors that if they remain open, you won't make it there.
yeah.
So you have to follow his instruction. But even with all of that, you know, um, he's proud of you. So be proud of yourself. And know that even though your son may not be here, if he was here, he'd be proud of his dad. He'd be proud of the man that he could look at right now. So be proud of yourself. So my question for you is when you chose to write this particular book, at the time when you wrote it, was you writing it from a place of regret or from a place of progression?
Hmm.
Good question.
That is a good question. So I can honestly say it was a mixture of both. I can honestly say it was a mixture of both. One, the regret part is not being able to be present in my children's life. That is that was the regret part. But also the the progression part is understanding that there are reasons for why these things happen, and also understand the concept of time and place. You know, there's a reason why I was removed, or I was I was either removed or placed in a particular place or a particular moment, and also understand that there was a time for that, a time to be either removed or placed. So the progression part came when, especially, well, for me, a lot of the progression part came when I understood time and place, also understood choices and consequences, and also when I was afforded the opportunities that I was given, to see something that see those two things happen, you know, were wonderful. And again, I would have, for my daughter to reach out to me and ask me as her father to come see her, come watch her be married. I wasn't, she told me that her mother was the one giving her away. I wasn't even angry about that. I wasn't even mad about that. I was just happy to have the opportunity. And also at the same time be able to see my youngest son and bond with him and try to talk some things out. So it was regret and progression. But as I was writing those poems, I realized the progression, and looked at it from that looked at everything from that aspect. For me, there's still aspects of it that are still hurtful and still painful, but they're not as painful as they were before, because again, I understand that we all have a choice and there are consequences to that choice. I chose, in certain instances, I chose not to be a father, and I chose to be a father in absentia, and there are consequences to that when you
Coach
choose.
C. Coach C said that testimony was phenomenal. I had two brothers murdered. When the second one was murdered, I walked away from the church and God for 2 years. Thanks for sharing. I thought I was the only one who has ever been that hurt.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And it's kind of it's I won't say it's funny that you mentioned that, but it is. But it brings me back to the times where I was that hurt. When you're hurting like that, you don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want nobody to give you no advice. You don't want nobody to pat you on your shoulder, tell you it's gonna be okay. You don't want anybody to try to encourage you. You just want answers. So even from that perspective, I mean, I understand, and I get it. But you, I had, again, you understand that everything that happens for a reason, and again, that reason is something you may not ever discover in this lifetime, and you have to be okay. You have to be okay with not knowing what that reason is.
Well,
you know.
now that you are where you are now, where do you see yourself within the next year?
Writing more books, doing more things with you guys, continuing to walk the path of a better person. You know, I've it's taken me a long time to get to the point to where I am, and that's been like a circuitous route, and I've been traveling in circles. I was traveling in circles the whole time, never really committing to a direction or anything of that nature. So it's taken a long time for me to get to where I am currently because of all the things that I've dealt with in life, in life, and all the things that I carried, and all the pain and regret that I carried. I was always traveling in circles, but one day you just have to. I realized that I didn't had to not travel in that circle anymore and just find out what path I was going. So where do I see myself in a year? Doing more things like this, writing more books, um, really doing the things that needs to be done to now to put this name, this platform, my name, and everything else out there. But also within that, continuing on the path to being a better person. Simple fact of the matter is, and again, this is for everybody that's listening. You know, being walking on this path to being a better person is is a very very it's a hurtful process. And I say that because the simple fact of the matter is this: when you when you put it in your mind that you want to change, you start peeling away all those layers of yourself like you're peeling away an onion, and each layer that you peel away hurts, and you have to take that layer and you have to expose that layer, and then either purge that layer or heal it, and then put it and either set it aside and everything. You do that until you get to you you get to what I call the real you, which is a very either a very scared either a very scared little boy or little girl, or a very hurt little boy or little girl. And you have to get to the root of that part of you, because there are aspects of you that have been hurt, that have been scarred, that have been used, manipulated, you know, put to put the test, and put the all kind of horrible things that we've all seen in this earth at one point or another. But once you get to the point of who that person is, which is the real you, then you can work on that part of you. Then you can work on that all those things that have hurt you, or all those people that have hurt you. And for me, that's the big part of it. You know,
And
I'm at the
that was going to be my next question to you. What was it like when you finally faced yourself?
Ooh, girl. Ooh. I did not like the person that I saw looking back at me. And I was horrified. I was horrified. I was devastated. I was incredulous. Any any emotion or any word that you could think that would describe that you could describe, and you could describe that those words would fit. I I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't, and I did for a minute. For a moment, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to look at it, but I had to, because me looking at that person was the person that I who I really was. A hurt, a hurt and devastated little boy who who had took in so many things.
And that was my next question. How hard was it for you to look in the mirror? Because, like I said in the beginning, you came such a long way to the point where when you wouldn't even say God's name. It was always the Most High or something on that level. And I'm like, well, who's the Most High? Is it Buddha? Is it this? Is it that? Nobody should be able to question who you serving um, at that point. And I realized you was coming from a place of hurt. To watch God healing you and you being delivered in this season, oh my God. Oh, I'm in awe of what God is doing. So, yeah,
Man.
how hard was it for you to actually take the time to look in the mirror and say, hey, I need this?
Ooh, ooh, I didn't, I didn't want to admit it, but but at the end of the day, you have to admit that. You have to admit that something's wrong. You have to admit that there's an issue with you. You have to admit that deep down inside there is something that needs to be dealt, something inside of you that needs to be dealt with. And if you don't deal with it, all those layers, and I'm gonna say that all those layers that you take the time to peel away and purge and heal, it means absolutely nothing if you don't look that person in the mirror, that the person that you see yourself at in the mirror, and you deal with that person in the mirror. It was hard, Q. And when I say it was hard with a capital D,
Mhm.
because you you look at yourself and you see situations that you've been in, and you want to react the way that you want to react in the old you. But then you have to look at it from the perspective of, nah, I'm a better person than that. Let me just hang back and just look and just observe this. You know, the one thing that I had to learn the most is about me is that they're I know at times I still act irrational, and there are times where anger pops up and decides it wants to take control, but it's not as often as it was what I'll say what maybe 20 years ago. Not that person. And the thing of it is when you do all that and you purge all those things, and this is not, I won't say necessarily, you don't necessarily purge it. You deal with it, and you put it away, or you set it aside, or you put it in the back, because that's not the aspect of you anymore. And it was hard because I had to, when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror, especially when the person that you see in the mirror has so many wounds and scars, and and you look at that person and you're like, well, how the hell did all this happen? Where did all these wounds and scars come from? And
And
you have
Coach
go,
C
go
said,
ahead.
wow, I remember when I did this, I told my mom that I hated myself. And I remember crying too hard. And she said, what I said, and I hate who I am. I am better than this. That is when I started changing my life around.
Yeah. And honestly, Coach C, to to me, hate is such a strong word, and I don't. It's a word that I don't like to use, because the simple fact of the matter is, I just don't like to use it. I just don't like to use it. Because, well, I don't like to use it. I would say dislike is better. Well, I mean, come on. Hate is a really, really strong
It
word.
is. It is.
Dislike is something that I would probably use. It's a little milder.
Hmm.
So I didn't I won't say I didn't hate myself. I strongly disliked myself, because, like I said, when you look at yourself, you're looking at someone who took in all these war wounds and all these battle scars and everything else, and you wondering how did all this happen. And then now you're looking at this person like, well, geez, I need to do what I have to do to protect this person. I got to do what I have to do to heal this person. I got to do what I got to do to make sure that this person doesn't ever go through that again, ever. And that's what I did. That's what I did. I put my own arms around myself to protect myself. So whatever it was I had to go through, you know, I I tried to protect myself from it. And Again, that's met with varying degrees of success and failure, because when you do this, you do fall short sometimes. But the thing of it is that whenever you fall short, you get back up and you get right back at it again, because that ain't the end of it.
Right.
Look at the end of a thing is always better than the beginning of it. And that's the one thing I'm beginning to learn and apply to my own life. And also, it's just I look at things from a matter of perspective. You know, I don't look at everything. I don't look at a glass either half empty or half full. It's either all the way empty or it's all the way full.
Mhm.
There's nothing about half empty or half full with me now. Everything is either full or empty. Period. And that's a perspective I look at things in. Because if I didn't look at those things in that perspective, everything that I've done up to this point, all the work that I put into changing and trying to manifest the better life, trying to manifest the best life that I know I can have, and also, um, you know, having these amazing partnerships with you and Coco and Terrence and Bobby and so many other good people, um, that I that I can't that will probably take the rest of the show for me to name. If I look at it from that perspective and manifest what I in trust in God, and allow myself to be led instead of being the one in front all the time. It's If I didn't do any of that, then I wouldn't be in this position to where I am now, and I still be looking at that scared little boy in there, that scared little boy in the mirror, trying to figure out what can I do, and that's the truth part about it. It's hard to do that. It is so hard to do all that, and I was like, God, Lord, I don't know if I can do this, or any I don't know if I can do this, man. I don't know, not sure. Sitting on shaky ground right here.
Right. And a lot of times, first let me deal with this. You said you're trying to manifest. No, trying is a cop out. You're manifesting. So take trying out of your vocabulary. I always fight with you on that. But
I see.
even in manifesting, you cannot live in the what if process of it, because what
Yeah,
if, you know, you stayed in the past? You're never going to be able to walk into your destiny.
that's it.
So we can't look at the what if factor. We have to be able to move forward. We have to be able to look in the mirror and say, yes, I messed up, but I forgive myself.
That's it.
I am no longer that person that was the failure as man looks at it. Because a lot of times we see us as man sees us, and
Yeah,
man will always fail us. We need to
that's
work
it.
on seeing us as God sees us.
That's
So with
it.
that being said, I'm thanking God that you forgave you and that you are moving forward, because in the next 5 years, oh God,
Yeah,
that's all I can say is, oh God, something major is about to happen. And it's such a blessing to see. I mean, you have a glow now. You're not walking. Yes, there's hurt, and they say time heals all wounds. No, it makes it easier for me to walk through it, because my dad has
yeah,
been out of here since 2010,
yeah,
and I still cry over him sometimes. It does make it easier to walk through it. It's not
yep.
every day that I cry, but there's some days that I may think of him and I'm like, okay, I just want my father at this point.
Yeah,
And then I have to
yeah,
remember, well, I have my spiritual father. He's here. He's filling those voids. He's comforting me. So
yep.
that's where we have to be. And we can't look at our past. We can't dwell there. There's no
Exactly.
way of dwelling in the past and being able to move toward the destiny that God has for you. And your destiny is great in this season. I am so super proud of you right now. But
Thanks. I appreciate
going
it.
back to the cover of this book, and you talking about the tapestry, and how you're piecing things together. You're piecing your life together. It's
Yeah.
not just, and I'm so excited about that because it takes time. It's a process. It's a journey. So what steps did you have to take to bring the pieces back together?
Ooh. Well, first, you know what? The first part of it for me was just looking at things as a whole and accepting those things as they are at face value,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of those things, a lot of some things in my life I wasn't responsible for. There's a lot of things. Are a ton of things in my life that I am responsible for because of the choices that I made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one if I can, to be transparent, there was, and I know my dad, my father may be watching this, and that's fine. There had always been a rift between me and him because of the situation that he chose to put himself through. I mean, I'm not going to air out anybody's business like that. I'm just going to leave it at that point right there. But
Mm-hmm.
from my standpoint, there was always this rift of anger right there. And unless I put this down, write it down and put it on paper, I wasn't ever going to move past it. So for me, it was taking everything at face value, accepting
Mm-hmm.
it as it is, and learning to forgive myself of whatever part I played in it, and accepting that account and being accountable for that. So that's one part of it. The accountability part. That's one piece of it. The other part of it is just, I mean, just understanding that understanding that certain things, there are certain choices that you make that you're responsible for, and there are certain choices that other people make that you're not responsible for. At times, wonder, because some of us as human beings, at times we take on the responsibility of someone else's actions. And for a moment, I did take on the responsibility of somebody else's actions, which was crazy. And I was like, well, why the hell am I doing that? And had to learn to not do that anymore. The most important part of piecing everything together was, again, perspective, how I saw things,
Mm-hmm.
um, how I look at things, how I view things. My worldview and my worldview and my life view are, to me, are synonymous. And we used to be at one point where my worldview was the opposite of my life view. That's different. They're synonymous now, because my life view sometimes, my life what I how my life view has an immediate impact on my worldview, because and when I mean my worldview, I mean everything that's encapsulated inside of me, not outside, not the outside world, but everything that's encapsulated inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So that means my business relationships, my work relationships, my family relationships. That's my world.
Mm-hmm.
So any thought processes or any views that I have, though, if they're negative views, they immediately impact my worldview. So I try to keep those two views within the same, at least upon not equal footing, but to the point to where they're not conflicting with each other. And so I look at things differently. I see things differently now. Not that I never didn't see any things differently, but now I'm a whole lot more observant than I was before. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of people say, well, I tell people, for me, the best perspective for me is on the inside looking out instead of the outside looking in. And they ask, well, why is that? It's a difference. Ain't it a narrow field of view? I said, nope. I said, if you're on the inside looking out, you're in front of a window. You have like 180-degree view of everything that goes on around you, that everything that you can see. If you're on the outside looking in, you can only look into the window.
Right.
And they're like, well, why you do that? Why do you think like that? I said, because how I see things now. I'd rather be on the inside looking out than on the outside looking in, because one view is a bigger view, the other view is a much more narrow view because you're limited by what you can see.
Right.
And a lot of people they limit themselves by what's in front of them. Not everything that you see in front of you is not is well, I won't say everything that you can see is real, but not everything that you can see is real. Now, you have to kind of put that in a different perspective. I mean, like I said, I see things differently. Um I operate differently. I move differently. You know, I'm still the same person. It's just certain aspects of me have changed. You know, I'm still outspoken when it comes to certain issues. But now, like I'm still outspoken when it comes to certain issues. But now I pick and choose what I speak my mind on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I temper how I speak when it comes to certain things, because 3 or 4 years ago, well, maybe five, maybe 3 or 5 years ago, man, please. Oh yeah, outspoken goes. I'm gonna say whatever I gotta say when I gotta say
Right.
it.
And everything don't deserve your energy.
Exactly. And I'm learning how to, and that for me, that was the important piece of it. Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Protect your energy at all costs, and
Yeah.
be very selective on who you give your time and your energy to, because not everybody's for you, and not everybody's against you, but not everybody's for you either. So I try to pick and choose the people that I choose to be around, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because again, not everybody's gonna have your best interest at heart, and there are people out there that are literal energy leeches, and I don't want to be around those type of people. You know, if I know something finna screw up my vibe, I'm gonna back away and not be in that, because I don't want that. I don't want that negativity, permeating in my soul, or coming into my spirit, or weaving its way into my mind. And I don't need all that, because that's gonna disrupt the path that I'm walking right now. And I don't need any disruptions or interruptions at this point.
Mm-hmm. And you got to realize a lot of things are just a distraction to delay you from your destiny, or to keep you from your destiny. Now,
That's it.
you talked about these energy seekers. Some people are preying on you instead of praying for you. They don't want to see you get ahead. They act like they support you, but they're not really supporting you in that season. And it's up to you to see your Judases in this season. I ain't saying get rid of your Judas, because your Judas has a purpose and an assignment. However, I'm telling you to keep your frenemies close.
Yeah. Um,
And
I'm,
that's the
I'm,
hard
I'm,
part, because you know they're against you. But the Lord said, the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, and
that's it.
he will lay a table in the presence of your enemy. He prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemy.
That's it. That's it.
You stay consistent because your enemy is consistent. You
Yep.
keep thriving because your enemy gonna keep thriving to keep you down. So you keep
Exactly.
thriving to stay up.
Exactly. And that's one thing I was telling a good friend of mine. And they were talking. I said, "Well, I told them, well, my game plan changes when people that's around me change. My game plan always changes. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a lot more observant now than most of them. I'm a lot more observant now than I ever was, and
Mhm.
I'm also a whole hell of a lot more guarded because of the things that I've been through. But it's also just for me, I just want to protect what I have,
Right.
protect the things that I have, so I'm able to. So when I'm called home, there's something that I can leave for my granddaughter, or something I can leave for my daughter or my youngest son, or I can those things will be ready and laid up for them, so they can. So if they choose to take this mantle and run with it, they can do that. They're able to.
Hmm.
And that was the other thing that I really thought about, um not only in the process of me writing the book, but also in the greater the greater scheme of things. You know, because it's something I could have something I always ask, something I always ask other people
Mhm.
about it, but I never, I never asked myself about it, and that's, legacy. What am I leaving behind? What am
Mhm.
I what am I bequeathing? What am I bequeathing my children and my grandchildren? What am I
Right.
leaving? What am I leaving laid up for them?
Mhm.
And I tell I tell my granddaughter's mother that this is the reason why I work so hard, working a 9 to 5, but also working my business, because I want to make sure that when all this comes together, and it will,
Yes, it will.
I want to be able to tell whatever 9 to 5 I'm doing, hey, look, see you later, bye, and
Mhm.
work this. And then when it's all said and done, when God says it's your turn,
Mhm.
I want to be able to pass this on to my grandchildren, to my children, so if they don't want to take the mantle and go with it, they can pass it on to their children's children. So
Right.
which whoever wants to take the mantle and go and run with it, they can. Everything,
Exactly.
let them just like, hey, look, you can do this. You don't have to worry about anything. The infrastructure is already set up for you. You
Mhm.
know, you there are people around that will support you, and that will help you. So you're not gonna go through this alone. Do you already have the infrastructure set up? And that's the thing. I want to make it so where if that happens, they can take that, and they can go
Mhm.
with it, and they can they can make it their own. They can make it their own. Not
Mhm.
just, they don't have to follow my blueprint. They can
Amen.
they can follow their own blueprint and make it their own. And then when they pass it to their children, they can take the basics of the blueprint, but they can shape and mold it to whatever they need to do, and so on and so forth and so forth. And that's, to me, that's, I never asked myself that, because I never looked at anything. I never asked myself the legacy question, because I never looked that far ahead.
Mhm.
I've never I never looked that far ahead. Hey, bro, what's going on, man? How you doing, bruh?
Amen.
I never looked at legacy, because I've never looked that far ahead. I've always looked right here, what's
Right.
in front of me, because you can only look right here. I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I can't look 20 miles down the road. I can only look right here as far as my headlights will go.
But you have
So
to
I
see
have
the
to
bigger
focus.
picture.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's true. But for me, my focus is right here, because I know I can see further out, but I want to concentrate on what's
In
directly and
front of
immediately
you.
in front. And that's making sure that you and Coco, or you, Coco, and Terrence and Bobby are well taken care of and happy and sane, as far as doing this right here, and make sure that everything goes as smoothly as it can. And I always think about it, if you do right by people, people will do right by you, and they will make sure that whatever you are manifesting, and I didn't say try, whatever you are manifesting will happen.
Exactly. And see, this is the thing about focusing on right here. Focusing on the right here and what's in front of me. What's in front of me might be distractions. What's in front of
True.
me is not always what it looked like. But God said he can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or even think. So I can't focus on what's in front of me. I got to focus on where God is taking me. But with that being said, you talked
Yeah.
about legacy, and success leaves clues. So why don't you read us a passage from your book?
Yes, 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 yes,
Yes.
I sure can. So let's see, what do I want to read? Oh my goodness. So many gems in here. So,
Don't make me
so
cry
many.
though.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to do that. So, you know what? I actually want to read two pieces. So one of them is is a part is the last chapter, the last act,
Okay.
or should I say or should I say, um I'll call it the final product. And that's the beginning. That's what it's called, the final product, where I am. How this goes, it says the garment is ready. It's past the final inspection process and has been properly checked. It is ready to wear in all its known and unknown imperfections. This is where I see myself right now in my current state. The name of this piece, y'all, is called A State of Recognition. So it goes like this. I look at my life in three songs: Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park, Blurry by Puddle of Mud, and True by Lloyd. Each song speaks to a different aspect of my life. Somewhere I Belong speaks to the years of a child and as an adolescent, struggling to find an identity, struggling to find a place, but never quite fitting in, seeing something that I did not want to see as a child and understanding its repercussions, running away from being accountable and making a choice that will ultimately change my life path. Blurry speaks to the time where everything was not so clear. The choices that I made were beginning to cost me, and I started to lose a lot of the things that I worked so very hard to gain. It spoke to the time that I have become more and more unstable and unreliable in my actions, in my mind state, and the continuation of a downward spiral. True speaks to where I am right now, the man I am now. At this particular stage in my life, all the battles that I've fought and lost, all the things I've went through, in retrospect, the majority of my wins were Pyrrhic victories. I've been through so much in my 49 years of existence. I've endured the pain and trauma and the ugly process of physically hurting one woman, and in the same token, being emotionally, mentally, and at times physically abused by another woman. I have lost people that were extremely close to me through the ugly entity of death, and those losses still hurt. I have failed miserably at marriage. I've navigated the muddy waters of suicide and considered the conundrum of religion and concluded that most of it is extreme spiritual abuse. I went through the process of navigating my emotions, understanding PTSD, anxiety, and depression, weaving my way through the continuous questions of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, and who I wanted to be, searching for some semblance of balance and at the same time trying to get my physical health in order, making an effort to repair broken relationships, to be the son, father, brother, grandfather, cousin, and nephew that I know I can be. It took an anime series for me to finally understand and apply the concepts of equivalent exchange. Now, I don't seek the conflict, I prefer the resolution. I have very little tolerance for ignorance and bullshit, but I am a much more patient and understanding person. I am learning to love myself more, to turn love and in turn to love those I care about. Where chaos once reigned with malicious intent, peace now rules with benevolent thought. I am learning to use my voice because I know I can affect change when I speak. Where confidence did not exist, quiet confidence lives. I can be truly transparent because I truly have nothing to hide. I've learned how to better manage my anger because acting in anger has diminishing returns. I move with calculated silence in a world where most people would rather announce their next move. I place a high value on true friendship and loyalty. My circle is small by design and purpose because if I call you my friend, I consider you my family. In reality, I only want people to accept me for who I am and for everything that I do. I will give it the very best that I can because at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I surely and honestly want to be true to me and to those I love.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Um, Tamika said power, truth, and vulnerability.
Yes, indeed.
And that's
That's
where,
that's for me.
yeah,
That is where I am at this point. Vulnerability.
right.
So the second piece comes from comes from the last weave. It's called Revelations and Realizations. In the final steps of the garment making process, the completed garment is subject to quality checks and to ensure that the garment meets the assigned requirements. Of course, that garment is not perfect because because there will be small but noticeable imperfections, and that's what makes the garment unique. For me, These are the experiences. These are the experiences that I can equate to that quality check. I got him. I already got him. Ooh, wrong person. I blocked the wrong person. Ooh.
I got him. You continue reading.
Okay. Sorry, Tanika. I didn't mean to block you, sweetheart. My bad. I'm sorry.
Did
We
you
blocked the wrong
unblock her?
person. Yeah, please. Because I know she was watching. And I apologize. I apologize, Tanika.
Okay, it's not allowing me to unblock her. You may have to.
I can't do it on my end. I'm sorry.
Oh
All
wow.
right. So that's fine. Tanika, I'll shoot you. Shoot you. I hit you via messenger when this is over. My apologies. I didn't mean to do that. So the name of this piece is called Noble. Now the background behind this piece was it was in response to an action that my father took. And as you read the piece, you'll understand what I mean. You understand where I'm going with that. Your action, though noble in nature, meant a lot to me because it answered a lot of questions I had. And I thank you. However, your actions, though noble, created an anger within me. Not angry to the point of unforgiveness, but angry to the point of wondering why would you take in all that anger from your sons? Why would you allow your sons to project abject hate towards you? Why would you take total responsibility for someone else's actions when you were only culpable for those of your own? Why would you say that you wanted us to not show any anger towards our mother? A noble action that was taken drove me to inscrutable depths of anger. A noble action with the intent of protecting someone caused me so much pain and anguish. I desire definitive distance to allow my anger and hatred to dissipate. Your noble action, though pure in intent, brought about a cataclysmic reaction for which now I am personally healing from. Short and sweet. So,
Short and
as,
sweet.
and as I stated before, that was in regards to an action that my father took with us. He didn't at the time they were their union was ending and whatnot and stuff like that. And he told us that he wanted us to be angry. He wanted us to be angry at him. And my I'd always question, like, why would you do that? I mean, I understand the reasoning as to why you wanted to do it, but you didn't have to do that.
Right.
You as I stated before, we're we're only responsible for the actions that we take. Why would you take on someone else's responsibility? You know that eventually when you do that, that comes to a head, and then you can because you're going to be feeling all that pressure
Mm-hmm.
and everything else that's associated with it. So man, it was that would those two. For me, those two are the ones that speak out the most in this book, um, because the first one speaks to the person that I am currently, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and to kind of be a little bit more explain the first piece that I read, those three songs were like, again, they speak to several of the aspects of where I was at the time. You know, when I was in California, my brother turned me on to a lot of, you know, groups like Linkin Park and Puddle of Mud and things of that nature. And those songs had a lot of meaning. Somewhere I belong was something that spoke a lot to me, because even even as a young adult and even as an adult, I was still trying to figure out where I fit in this world. Only to understand that only to come to the realization that you don't fit in, you don't stand out, you don't stand in, you stand out.
Right.
And then Blurry spoke to a lot of the things that I mentioned earlier, like where everything wasn't so clear and the path wasn't so readily made in front of me. And it spoke to all the mistakes and all the mistakes that I made, all the lapses in judgment that I made, all the things that I did to undermine myself, or even actually undermine myself and other people. And True was a song that it had been out for a while, but I started listening to it actually in where did I start listening to that song? 2018. I started listening to that song in 2018, and you know the lyrics of that song spoke a lot about to where I was at the time, where I was at the time of listening to that song, because I was still in that wayward path, but at the same time trying to be true and try to be remain true to who I was and try to be true to those that I cared about and I loved at the time. You know, that it was a crazy transition, and you know, one of the lyrics in his song was like, what I forgot what it was. What was it? I forgot what it was. One of the lyrics in the song said, my pride won't let me hide all my true feelings. Because I can only be real, and that spoke to who I was. That spoke to me. And the simple fact of the matter is because that's who I really wanted to be, was me. And I didn't know who Frederick was at the time. That's why when you guys asked when you asked me what did it feel like when I looked into the mirror and I saw Frederick, and that's why I said, yeah, you don't want to know about that conflict, do you?
So
That was rough.
what does Frederick look like now when he looks in the mirror?
A hell of a lot more confident than I was prior. Um, a lot more introspective and observant than I was prior.
Hmm.
Being guarded is a little bit is one of the results of the things that I've been through. I think for most people um that's a natural transition sometimes. So
Hmm.
I am a little bit more guarded, but I'm also a lot more understanding and a lot more forgiving of people when people do stuff, that's when people do egregious stuff, because we're all human, and that's just the nature of who we are. But when I look at myself in the mirror, I see quiet confidence. I see someone who is very slow to wrath at this point. I see somebody that is much more much more tolerant of certain things. You know, my I try not to I look at things in certain perspectives. Now there are certain things that people that still do. Where everybody at? I don't know, bro. I don't know. They missing out. That's all I can tell you. They missing out. That's all I can tell you. But I'm a lot more introspective than I was. I mean, I'm a lot more tolerant to certain things now, because certain stuff that would have drove me to 100. Yeah, I don't do that now.
Right. And that's
Thank
a
you, Monica. I appreciate that. Love you to life, girlfriend. So yeah,
oh,
that's craziness, man. I mean, the person that I see in the mirror now is a much more happier person. It's a much more um yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. I'm a much more happier person, much more I can say I'm a much more happier person,
I agree.
because certain stuff that used to bother me, whatever. It's okay. I don't mess with it.
Right.
Certain stuff that used to irritate me, like, okay, whatever. Go on about your way. Carry on.
Right.
But also the one thing I had to learn, the one thing I had to learn better to be a better person, you have to take care of yourself better.
That's true.
Self care is important. Self care is the best. Self care is important. Not only if you when you take care of yourself, you're able to take care of those around you and
Right.
those that care for you. So I've had this. That's still a journey that I'm still traveling on, because I know for me, when I get off work, or when I come off a show, or I'm monitoring a show with you guys, or just we're doing whatever. It's Sometimes it's very hard for me to decompress, because there's always this thought in my mind. Well, damn, I didn't upload that show to Anchor, or maybe or damn, I didn't upload a commercial that Quint or Bobby, Quint and Coco or Bobby that may have made. There's always those things that run through my mind. Not only as someone who works for a living, but also someone who's managing and running a business, but also even me as an author. I always ask myself, when I finish a book, or when I write the last word on that page, I always ask myself, did I write enough? Did I put enough out there for people to understand and get what I was writing?
And
So for me, it's
do
very
you
hard for me to
feel like
decompress.
do you feel like you did that with this book? Because I know as a writer, sometimes with when you have to deal with things concerning you, it makes it that much harder to write that book. So, but
Yeah.
you have to be able to identify with the book in order to touch somebody else. So,
Oh yeah. I can when I say that, I can say, uh run so what you want to shoot an email with that, bro, or you want to run that by me offline? I mean, we can do that.
okay. But you have to be able to identify and it has to touch you. So, I know even when I was writing Overcoming the Mask, I put my book down for a year because I had to look at me. I had to still heal from some places that
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with, or I didn't know
Girl.
I was still grieving over. So,
Girl.
I mean, how hard was it for you to write this book?
Extremely. And when I say extremely, I mean that with a capital E.
Hmm.
Because, like you, when you were writing your second book, there were still some things that you had to heal from, and as you can attest, you said it yourself, it makes it hard to put things on the page,
Hmm.
because you as a writer, you want to write from a place of transparency. You don't want to write from a place of anger or confusion, because people aren't going to want to understand. People ain't going to understand that, and they're going to look at you and like, what the hell is this person talking about?
Right.
So for me, it was extremely hard, because I had to, and you can attest to this. I had to find a way to make all those emotions. Number one, not first of all, I had to find a way to make those emotions relevant,
Hmm.
and then number two, I had to find a way to make all those emotions and those experiences make sense,
Right.
not only to me, but to someone who will read it.
Hmm.
When And then the last thing was, making sure that I'm as transparent as I possibly can be. You know, not without revealing a whole lot, but also making sure that there's enough there. There's enough there for someone to pick up and grab and use and run with. Because when they don't when folks when you I don't and again I've read yours. I mean, because you don't want to write something and be vague.
Right.
Because I mean, I'm gonna say, when I read Get Up, and then I read the other one, girl, I'm like, okay, she touching on a few buttons right here. So Let me put this down and come back.
Right. And when I did Get Up, my goal for Get Up was to help women to become more self-confident. But
That's
the
it.
men that has actually read that book, they were like, look, this is for men and women. And it really caused me to think about some stuff. And
Yeah.
then for other women to come back, like, I didn't know who I was. And now I know who I am today. And I'm like, wow, okay, God, to God be the glory. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
And yes,
Exactly.
Cedric, self reflection is key for healing, growth, and perspective. So that is
Yeah.
so true. It's hard because I'm writing one now called The Art of Forgiveness. And
Hard, ain't it?
I'm sitting here like, I'm in my business again. I don't want to be up in my business. Like,
But
but
some, but sometimes you
have to
have to
be
be. But you
transparent.
have to be though. But
Right.
you have to be in your. You have to be in your business because at the same, because when you're not in your business,
Mm-hmm.
when you're not in your business and you don't put your. I mean, it's some. And my cousin, she's a first time author. And she wrote something about her experiences with her oldest child, a special needs child.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I told her, as a writer, you expose yourself so that other people can benefit.
Right.
You know, exposing yourself is gonna be hurtful, of course. Is it gonna reveal parts of you that you thought you didn't want nobody to know about, of course.
Yes.
But sometimes we have to expose ourselves so that other people can benefit from the exposure. You know,
Right.
the one thing that I've had to learn is I had to learn to not mind being exposed. So
Right.
when people see my exposure, they can be like, they can benefit from it, or they can take a lesson and learn from it. That's for me. For me that is the best thing. I won't say the best thing, but for me that's the calculated risk that I'm out there. Anytime I start writing something, I'm willing to take.
Exactly. And you have to be vulnerable before the people
Oh,
because it's easy for somebody to look at you and try to tell your story. But like you said, you telling it from the inside out. Listen, I was there. It happened to
exactly.
me. And I know what I went through. I know how I felt when I was going through it. And I know what I had to do to get over it and to overcome it. So, yes,
Yep.
I am vulnerable before the people.
That's it. Like you mentioned earlier, who better to tell that story than the person that experienced it?
Exactly.
You watched it happen in real time and in 3D.
Exactly.
So I mean, why not? Why
Exactly.
not? I mean, this for like I said, it was extremely difficult. I mean, just to even write it, um,
Hmm.
presented its own challenges.
Right.
Um, the piece that I wrote to my son, the piece is called July 4th.
Hmm.
That was the hard that was the hardest thing for me to write. And
Right.
then the other three pieces that I dedicated to my children, those were the hardest four pieces for me to write,
Hmm.
because in July 4th is the longest one because of the emotion that's thrown into that.
Right.
All the emotions that encompass that. Those are the hardest four pieces for me to write. And because of the emotions that were flooding my mind and flooding my heart at the time I was writing it, you know, when I was writing July 4th, I mean, I couldn't get two or three stanzas in without crying again, or I couldn't get another stanza in without crying again, or having to remove myself and say I gotta pull myself away from this, because
Right.
it brought up all those emotions I thought long buried.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
And that's the thing. We bury those emotions, but we never forgave ourselves for what
exactly,
happened. So we repress it instead of forgive. And then when we have to deal with it, it's like, dang, that's still there.
exactly. I was like, what?
But that's when deliverance takes place.
Yep.
Healing begin to take place.
The thing, the fun. I
And
won't
then
even say the fun.
self-love begin to
Oh,
take place.
Girl, let me tell you. The funny part about this is when I finished writing the last one.
Mhm.
So I wrote them in order, meaning I wrote them in the order that my kids were born. Kawanza was first, then Francesca, then Shamar, then Montre. So I wrote them in the order that they were born, but also I wrote them in the order of the experiences I had with each one of them,
Mhm.
and each one of them was a different thing. I tell you what, I'll read one of them. I'm not gonna read July
Oh
4th because
my.
yeah, I'm not gonna read July 4th.
Okay.
I will not read July 4th because
Thank you.
I can't, because if I read that I'll be like, yeah, we're not doing this, and can't can't do it, won't do it.
And even with the poem Noble that you read, for your father to take that approach, not only did he become accountable for his actions, but he became accountable for somebody else's actions. And
Yeah,
that right there in itself, that's
yeah,
hard to do. Like, I don't want you to look at her in a negative way. I don't want you to see her flaws. I don't want you to see, what we went through, but I want you to just put it all on me.
and when you do
Listen,
that, the pressure,
yes, it's a lot of pressure, but
pressure.
that's a noble act. I
Yeah,
commend
I mean,
him for that. Like, listen, my
I,
father wasn't taking accountability for anything. So I
that's true.
promise you, hats off to you.
Yeah, I most definitely said I'm, committed. You get accommodations from me from that, but that's some. You didn't have to do that. You know, people are responsible for their own actions, and he was, but he, knowing my father the way that he is, the way that my father is, he's that type of dude. So I don't buy I don't buy I don't buy I don't jump to conclusions with him, because I know if he says something, that's pretty much what it's gonna be. So I don't
Right,
bother with him. I don't bother like that, because
right.
I know him enough to know that it was with good intentions, but at the same time, it had there was a negative effect behind it.
But he knew the effect that was going to be behind it, but he still did it regardless. And
Yeah,
Cedric said it's an emotional purge. Self forgiveness is hard. We can forgive others faster than we ourselves. And that is so true.
true.
And then we are taught at a young age that thinking about yourself is selfish, but self preservation is the only thing that will keep you sane. That's true
Very
too.
true. Very true. So the last piece I'm gonna read for you guys. This is called "Somewhere," and this is for this. As I stated before, I wrote each poem as in accordance to each child's birth. Like I said, Kawan's the oldest. Um, Francesca's my only daughter, and my oldest and only daughter, and then Shamar, and then um, my Trey. So this one is for Shamar. This is for the middle child. So it's called "Somewhere." Somewhere between her story and my story is truth. Somewhere between all the bullshit lies understanding. Somewhere within her conditioning of you to hate me lies your love for me. Somewhere between what she told you compared to what I spoke to you lies a curiosity to know who I am to you. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere we can meet again and work on being father and son. I pray that you are well, and I love and miss you.
That was awesome. And I told you don't be trying to make me cry up in here on today.
I
Okay?
wasn't
Yes, you was.
sorry, didn't mean to, but I mean that was in retrospect to a lot of what she taught him of me, and then the one time that I did have a conversation with him, which we had on Messenger, and he said all these disparaging things. I said, your mother told you about that. Your mother told you about me, didn't you? Didn't she? She said, yeah. I said, let me tell you who I am. And let me tell you my story. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you. Let me tell you the part of it, the part that I played in it. Let me tell you that part.
Mm-hmm.
What I told him, he was like, he was incredulous. I'm like, dude, this is what it is. This is the manipulative. I said, this is the manipulative nature of your mother. I said, I said, she's the one that I said, look, she told me that she was pregnant. She told me that she was pregnant with you, and she told me that she was going to abort you.
Wow.
What, as a male, what could I say? I can't tell you to keep the baby. I can tell you, I can suggest that you keep the baby, but hell, at the end of the day, it's your body. So I can't determine anything. The only thing that I told her is that whatever you do, whatever choice you make, I will support you in that choice. Whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, I will support you, because at the time I cared about her and wanted her to be okay. Regardless. I mean, regardless of the fact whether or not we were together or not, I just wanted her to be okay, and I wanted to make sure that she was cool until she was taken care of. So for 9 whole months, now me and her not in, and I don't know why. I don't know why God's taking me there, but I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. I'm listening. I'm listening. So for 9 whole months, here we are. She's carrying the kids. I'm thinking it's some other cat's kid, right? So get a phone call later. Come on and come check out your kid. Come see your you come see your godchild. Oh, why are you making me a godfather? I ain't trying to hear that right now. But okay, we're still friends at this time. Come over there, look at the child. You told me you had me come over here and look at this child to see if he was mine. That little boy, that little boy don't look like me. That was my whole thing at the time. He didn't look like me, so he wasn't mine. Years pass, years pass, years pass. You know, this little thing called Dana or DNA, it don't lie. She don't lie at all.
No, she don't.
And she said with 99.99%,
That you
you
are
are
the
this
father.
man. You are this man's father. I'm like, well, I can hear Maury Povich in my head. You are the father. I'm like,
Wow.
what am I gonna do now? This whole time, I'm thinking this kid ain't mine. So now I'm trying to build her now. Well, now I gotta build a relationship, or at least make an attempt at it.
But can I say this? Even in all of that, okay, she lied from jump. She said she was getting rid of it. Then she had you to come over there to and say this, you're the godfather, not the father. You're the
Yeah,
godfather. So she never actually came out her mouth and said, this is your baby until
nah,
years later. So you
yeah,
cannot, you can't hold yourself accountable for that, because yes, you knew you were sleeping with her, but there was a lot of lies being told.
yeah. True. That's true. I mean, and in retrospect, I thought about, well, why you didn't have to do all that. You just could have said you just could have said it. That I think I would have been a little bit more amenable to it than amenable at that
Hmm.
point, because I wasn't trying to really wasn't trying to do it. wasn't really trying to do anything, and well, I won't say trying to do anything else, but I really was just wanted to try to be better at that point. Now this is like in 1996, and I mean I'm still trying to figure stuff out,
Hmm.
and you know even with that, trying to figure out how am I going to be able to see him and be able to be the influence on him that I know I need to be. And it was hard. It
Right.
was really, really hard because, you know, this person did, because the funny thing about it is when we went to court for mediation. Now this is in California, so all this goes down like that. So we went to mediation because now they're trying to figure out visitation and child support. This girl wanted to have me drug tested.
Wow. What
And I'm
that got
like,
to do with anything?
this I was like, what you trying? What's the big deal with that? Well, I know you drink and I know you smoke. I wouldn't do that around my child. I'm a
Wow.
little bit. Hey, I may be wilding out, but but at least I'm a little bit responsible. Jesus, but it was. I won't say it was hell. It was hell for a long time. I mean the I guess the saving grace in that is that a really good friend of mine, Anthony. This dude, he was a cool dude. He was married to her at the time, and we talked man to man. He said, "Look, man, whatever I need to do to make sure that you're able to see your son, I'm gonna do it. If I gotta bring him up for visitation, or if you just want to come by and see him for maybe for a day or so, that's fine. We can do that. That won't be an issue." And he did the very best he could until he couldn't do it, until he could no longer do it anymore.
Hmm.
Which I understand. Some you can't you play you have to choose which side of the fence you want to be on, and one of those is loyalty to your wife or loyalty to your friend, and you got to pick one. You pick one, the other one loses. And
Right.
I told him I was never mad at that because dude, you pick. I said, dude, you picked the right side.
Hmm.
I'm not mad at you for that. I was angry with you for a moment, but I'm not. But at this point, I can't be because you picked the side that you had to pick to keep sanity in your home,
Right.
and I get that. So I was never mad at him about that. He thought I was. I said, bro, I would never be mad at you for picking your child over me. I mean, we still I said we look at the end result. We still friends, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Hmm.
And like I said, I mean, I don't know why God is taking me here, but He is, and I'm listening. I'm listening. You know,
Hmm.
even the situation with my daughter. You know, now you're probably gonna laugh at this, and I don't blame you if you do. That's being honest with you. So my son was born in June of 1996. My daughter was born in December of 1996.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that type of thing. So
It's okay. My daddy was a Rolling Stone too.
I was trying not to be, but so even with that, you know, trying to build a relationship with Shamar, you know, trying and failing because there's things such as the system and other, and I won't even wax poetic on that because I mean, it's really not nothing to really talk about because the system is there for a reason, and that's the reason it's there. So
Hmm.
even with my daughter, you know, I still wasn't in the most stablest of places because I was still out there doing whatever the hell I wanted to do and not and issuing all responsibilities. When my daughter was born, and this is probably gonna you. I mean, you probably be your eyes will probably get wide when I say this. You know, I was there for my daughter's birth through the whole ugly nasty process.
Hmm. Well, bless the
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah. But here's the kicker: I was there. I was able to cut the umbilical cord. I was able to hold her. Love on her, show her. Let her. All those things. The one thing that hurt me the most is when her mom told me, "Thank you for being here, but I don't need you here. I have my family." That hurt the hell out of me.
Of course, that's your daughter.
Didn't know what to say about that. But I left it alone because I had to understand that's how people that's where she felt at the time, and I get it. Don't no big deal about that. But then the first six Yes, he said he's talking about Shamar's mom.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
Name has been omitted to protect the innocent. Yes, we don't. And amongst me and my brother, and we don't speak that name.
Okay.
We don't speak that name at all because he knows part of what went down with that, and he knows part of my disconnect with that was. But
Mm-hmm.
with my daughter, it was much simpler at first. We agreed on visitation because I worked 5 days a week. You know, I came on weekends on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Brought gifts, brought things that I thought she needed, bottles, pacifiers, milk, things of that nature, onesies, car seats, whatever. All that. I won't say car seat. Well, yeah, I did buy a car seat. All of those things that a baby needs at the time. You know, we had talked about reconciling and trying to reconcile and get back together. That didn't happen. So we just went with the co-parenting thing, and everything was going good at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Everything was going really, really good at the time. Me and I got to spend time with with my daughter, bond with her, play with her, make sure that she's good, and try and I'll tell myself maybe this is a chance for me to be the father to a child that I wasn't to my other kids. And well, then that thing called disappointment and reality hits. So 6 months it was going well. Shut up, Cedric. Shut up, Cedric. Shut up, Cedric. Mercy is not crazy, bro. She's cool. She's cool. She's cool. She's cool in the fan. She's cool in the fan, son.
Did you just say her name?
No, that's no the crazy one. The crazy one is what we don't what the name we don't speak. My daughter's mother's name is Mercy, and
Okay.
so like I said, 6 months we were cool, and after that, boom, here we are. She's gone. She's in a place there where I have no idea where the hell she's at. Can't be mad at her for that. That's a choice.
Right.
So for seven, for almost several years of my daughter's life, almost 17 and a half years of my daughter's life, I had no idea where she was or what she was doing. All I knew is she graduated high school. She wanted to, she's heavily into sports. Her favorite player is Peyton Manning, and she wants to be a sports. She wants to be a sports. She had aspirations of being a sports journalist. Dang, all that stuff going down. I mean, all that stuff going down. Cool. So, man, we maintain a relationship over the internet on Instagram. We talk to each other and say, "Hey, how you doing?" We have these nice conversations about this, that, and the third. I ain't no dope, dumb. I ain't no dope boy. Leave me alone. So, but even when I got the invitation in 2019 to come to her wedding, I was like, oh my god, what? The reason and it surprised me because I didn't think she would do it. I didn't think that that was something she wanted to do or even have me present for that. But when we talked about it, she told me how much she had wanted to have. She would told me how much she wanted me to be there and how much she wanted to try to have a relationship with me. And that literally brought tears to my eyes. And I was like, oh my God. And I got to watch this beautiful ceremony with her and her husband. And I was like, for for a whole weekend, in March of 2019, all was right with the world. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was on a natural and a spiritual high. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Mm.
You know, even to speak to her mom and her mom, we talked. We had a nice long conversation. And when I say a nice long conversation. She told me her reasons as to why she did what she did,
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't blame her for that. Couldn't even hold her to that. I understood, and I think you as a mother can understand what I'm about to say. She told me that she did what she had to do to protect her daughter because because I was the unknown.
How long were y'all together? Protect her from what?
Me, I'm not. I wasn't. We weren't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything bad to her. None of that stuff.
I'm
But I,
sorry, I can't understand it because let me tell you why. I dealt with a person that did not want to be in their daughter's life. And I begged him to be in his daughter's life until I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and sick of crying because you don't want to act right. And then I said, another man's going to raise your child. And that's what happened. So, no, I can't understand that. If a father wants to be in his child's life, then you allow them to be in their life. That right there is not okay. I don't understand women using their children against the father or as a weapon. I don't understand all of that. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong on every aspect.
it is.
I don't deal with baby mama drama and baby father drama. I don't do that. No,
None of us.
what we
Nobody.
do
Nobody should.
is for the children. Let's think about them and their best interests and go from there. So no, I can't understand that. That's not being a woman.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
you
No.
know what? For me, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Q. I do, but for me, it was me looking at it in retrospect. I had to look at it
How you
from
want,
I had
but
to look
no.
at it from that. I had to look at it from that point and then move forward behind, then move forward towards it. You know, it because the reason I say the reason she was saying that, the reason she said she was trying to protect her from me because at the time I still wasn't necessarily stable.
I don't care. You wanted to be in a child's life, stable or unstable, regardless. My father was an addict, a whole addict. Guess what? I wanted him in my life. You don't take the father away from the child. That's not okay. I'm sorry. No. I don't care.
You know, I mean,
That's my
she said
opinion.
it. I mean, I get it. I mean, she said it. That's in my heart. That was in my heart. I knew it was sincere, and is at that point, you know, you forgive people and you move forward.
Right. You can
No,
forgive, but
no issue.
now you done created a whole life of a child missing out on not only you but the other part of their family. That's not okay.
That's true because I mean, she there, and I tell her, you know, she's and I'll say this too because there was a yeah, I'll say this too because I did get it. There was a lot of backlash behind this because of that. You know, I don't know if you've seen a picture of my daughter, but she's Filipino and she's black, and you know, there was a lot of backlash behind that. You know, from not from her, not from the standpoint of her, but the standpoint of for me, you know, because you know it was looked at as something like not taboo but like disrespectful for dating somebody outside your race and stuff like that. So it was a lot behind that. You know, me personally, I didn't care because at that point that was a person that I cared because she was the person that I cared about at the time. So I didn't care about that. I didn't give a damn about that.
So
But
who did the backlash come from?
the backlash came from other other black women because they thought they looked at it as being disrespectful.
I'm sorry. That's a whole nother topic. So we're gonna go back to your book because
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We are.
because I'm about I'm about to get
Yeah,
angry because if they're
no,
not paying my bills, if
that's true.
listen, they don't have
They
no say in that. I don't care what they got to say.
exactly.
Are you taking care of my baby?
Nope.
Okay, okay. So you're not a part of my French fry group or my pizza. Okay, so you need to get to stepping and mind your business. You got 6 months to think about your business and 6 months to leave mine alone. So guess what?
French fries and pizza.
That's it. That's it right
French
there.
fries and pizza. So I mean, I don't. You know what? The thing of it is, I don't compare people like you do with like French fries and pizza.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do look at people as I look at people from from the two aspects of good for me, bad for me.
Okay.
And I look at that the way I look at them because you can with some people you can tell what their intentions are from the off the jump from the rip off rip.
Mhm.
Like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, you bad business, so I'm gonna go over here to the left, and I ain't gonna bother with you because you might be really bad business for a brother, and I ain't trying to deal with that at this point. But you know, and I try to make sure I try to I won't say I try. I do the
Thank you.
best that I can to be discerning. You
Okay.
know,
Mhm.
spirit. You know, I'm still I ain't gonna lie. I'm still a baby in this spiritual discernment stuff. So that's something I'm trying to learn. That's something I'm willing to learn.
Mhm.
But as far as like the energy discernment, oh yeah, if you got bad juju, oh we not messing. I'm not messing with you.
Right.
If I sense bad juju, oh deuces. And that's the thing that's kind of sort of the culmination of the book of this book of poetry. It's like it started from it starts from me being a baby, you know, being birthed, being having the honor and the privilege, and having the honor and the privilege of being birthed on this earth by two parents,
Mhm.
and then being able to you know move from one aspect of life to another,
Mhm.
and not in a scene, not always in every aspect that I moved from is not wasn't always in a seamless fashion, but to be able to pull all those things and culminate all those things together and to put this together in book form, it's I'll say this, it's an accomplishment for me because I don't think in the I would have never wrote I never would have never wrote this in a million years. I would have never put this out on paper or anything like that. But I felt that it was important and relevant at this time
Mhm.
because there are people that are like me that that have gone through that have gone through the things that I went through. Probably not in a similar fashion as I, but in a certain but in a fashion to where it could be not something that mirrors my own experience, but they went through something that's similar.
Right.
And I want to be able to put what I experienced out there for people to to grab and pull on that because if you for grabbing it when you grab and pull on stuff like that, especially when someone is being transparent about who they are and
Mhm.
what they've been through and what they've experienced.
Right.
When someone is like that, you want to grab and pull on it because those are experiences that can be related that are relatable.
Mhm.
And when people relate to certain things, they're able to gain a little bit more. They're able to gain some understanding about who they a little bit about who they are, and they're able to do that. They're able to go through that process of trying to be a better person by peeling back those layers and getting to the substance of who they are, which is you,
Mhm.
which is who you are. Like you said, like you and Coco said earlier, looking that person in the mirror,
Mhm.
looking at that hurt little boy and little girl in the mirror, looking at that wounded child in the mirror, and figuring out what do you have to do to protect this child, or what do you have to do to make sure that this child doesn't go through so much hurt and pain and anguish as they've already experienced.
Right.
So I mean, my thing is to be as transparent as I can. Like I mentioned it earlier, you know,
Well,
we
once again, I'm definitely excited for what
yes,
you have done, got it out there. Y'all definitely support Fred. You can get his book on Amazon. I put
yes,
it in
ma'am.
the chat. It is now 10:15. Fred, show your book again and let them
Yep.
know how to get in contact with you.
Hey y'all, this is Frederick BDO. I am the author of the new release Tapestry, the Interwoven Soul, currently available on Amazon as an ebook and also as a paperback. You guys can get in contact with me. If you want to get in contact with me personally, you can contact me on my personal email at authorflb@gmail.com. If you are looking to get a personalized copy, you can also contact me via Facebook, excuse me, at FLBD or Instagram at at Mr. _ Beatty. If you got if you're now if and I'm gonna do the shameless plug because I gotta do it. If you are an author, a spiritual leader, a person who owns and runs a business, if you are a speaker, you're a coach, you are whatever thing you got, if you're an independent artist, if you own a company or you own a business, if we when I say we, I mean me, Quint, Coco, Terrence, Bobby, we want to hear from you because I feel that because Trailblazers Radio is a family, and I treat it like it's a family run operation because we all are family here. So if you want to, if you have those things I mentioned or even more, we love to hear from you. You can email us at trailblazersradio at gmail.com. Now Trailblazers is spelled with a Z. So it's at gmail.com, and we will try to respond to you within 24 hours to talk about what you have going on. And before we conclude, I do want to give a special announcement, y'all. So I spoke with a good friend of mine today. Well, not today, but yesterday. And he's someone that I interviewed on the show on this platform like almost a year ago. The gentleman's name is Tony Langhorn. Real cool, real stand-up guy, real cool cat, a master poet, and just a real all-around cool person. We kept in contact since then. But I am pleased to announce that I am a brand ambassador for his clothing company, LMNOP Co. And if you guys want to purchase some merch off the website, I will actually post my affiliate link here on in the chat.
Yay.
That is the affiliate. That is the link to where you can purchase merch. Check out my brother Tony Langhorn and everything that he has going on. Make sure you guys make sure you make sure, but the one thing I want to say really as a writer and as a writer and I'm saying this for all of us who are writers. I'm not for myself. Quint's writing her book. Coco is doing got a book she's writing her book, and that's gonna be out soon. Bobby's working on her book, and that'll be out soon. I'm working on something. I'm working on a project that's gonna be out soon. And everybody that's that who writes. And these are for the people that read the works that we put out here. First and foremost, I want you guys to understand that we don't do this for pay. Because truthfully speaking, if you ain't Tom Clancy or whomever else, Stephen King, or you know, I forgot the guy's name, Patterson. I forgot his name, George or Steve Patterson, whoever, or the lady that created Harry Potter. We don't get paid for this. We honestly don't. And when we do get paid for it, it's not a whole lot. But that's besides the point, honestly. The point is we don't do this for pay. We do this because the words that we write, our experiences, our blood, our sweat, our tears, those things translate to the page. And we do this because we want to try to change lives one word at a time, one sentence at a time, one paragraph at a time. If we're able to change one life, then it won't be a mission complete, but that helps us toward a mission complete. So reviews, good or bad, help us. It doesn't matter if it's a 1-star review or a 5-star review. Reviews help us immensely because it helps us to perfect our craft as writers. So I can't stress that enough, because I'm a writer and there's so many friends that I have in my circle of influence that are writers, that are creatives. And it doesn't cost you anything to like, share, or follow. It doesn't cost you anything if you have purchased a book. The only extra cost to do a review is just a little bit of your maybe 5 to 10 minutes of your time. So I can't stress that enough, man. That's the one thing I really want to make sure that I put that message I want to put out there, because to put something together like this right here, to put together 74 pages of a book that has a lot of emotion behind it, that it takes a lot. So, if you guys feel led, if you guys do feel led, I mean, I would appreciate it if you do purchase the book. Again, it's called Tapestry, um, the Interwoven Soul, currently available on Amazon as an ebook and a paperback. Um, I am going to purchase some more copies so that way I have some physical copies available. So I'll let you guys know when those physical copies come. So that way, if you are in Georgia, or actually I take that back, if you're anywhere, if you're part of our viewing or listening audience and you want a copy of the book, by all means email me at authorflb@gmail.com. I will put that in the chat right now. And if you guys want a personalized copy, most definitely let me know. Remember, now just to let you guys know, I don't do personalized. Just let you guys know there is, because it's a personalized copy, you know, you gotta pay for it. You're gonna have to pay full price. I don't do relative. I don't do homie or relative discounts. That don't work. That you can't do that because in the midst of me being an author, I also have to be sure. I maintain and work a business. So this helps in maintaining that. So with that being said, that's that's me in a nutshell. That's my book. That's my book in a nutshell. That's the story. That's pretty much the culmination of where this book came from, where it birthed from, and where where I want to see it go from this point forward. Because I am very, very confident. I'm I'm very, 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 very confident that this will change lives. This will change somebody's life. This will change not only a young man's life, but a young woman's life. This is something because I know there's something in this book that's relatable to everybody. You know, I do want to, and last but not least, before Quint closes us out, I do want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I thank you for your prayer. I thank you guys for your presence and your patience with me. There's some more things to come. I can't really say what they are right now, but there are some more things to come. And oh yes, I forgot for those who are going to be for those in Florida. No setting, no brother discount, full price.
Oh God.
We might be able to work something out, kid, but we'll see. So also, I just want to let you guys know. So for I will be in Tampa, Florida on the week on July on not July on February excuse me February 26th with my good friend Miss Lori Aravallo, and she's gonna have she's this is and I'm this she's a really good friend of mine, and she has a great platform, Victory Over Violence Florida. I'm gonna be there for her son for her. I think this is her second annual summit, and excuse me, and luncheon. This is gonna be it's gonna be an award, gonna be a summit, gonna be an educational summit. It's gonna be an award ceremony. It's gonna be um it's gonna be a really, really powerful event. I am gonna be a vendor, but I'm also gonna be a moderator. We have an executive panel that's gonna be there. I'm gonna be me and myself, Lori, and another young lady. We're gonna be moderators there, so we're gonna be asking questions and also kind of keeping things flowing. So if you are in the Tampa, Florida area, by all means come out. It's February 26th at 9 o'clock. I'll post that information. Um, well, I'll take that back because I think from what she told me, all the tickets have been bought. So it's actually limited. So it's actually limited. But however, I'll try to go on live on Facebook Live if I can, so you guys can see what's going on and also kind of participate if you guys want to. But February 26th, I will be in Tampa, Florida, with my good friend supporting her venture Victory Over Violence in Florida. So that being said, that is it. That is all.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in again. Check us out Monday at 8 p.m. for My Life Has Destiny podcast. We're going to be doing some more Q&A. And Mr. Cedric Beatty, I sent you a friend request. You can inbox me your idea for My Life Has Destiny podcast. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Y'all go get his books because we want to touch lives. Like he said, one word at a time. So y'all have a good night. We really appreciate you staying on with us.
Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We so like Coco always says, we love y'all to life, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So on that note, y'all, be safe, take care of each other, and love on each other. See y'all next time. Deuces.
Deuces.